Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Please invite your loved one. Let them know we are back again. If you are coming across this podcast for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to join. Don't forget to share with your loved one. Share with your loved one. Without wasting much of our time, we will be welcoming our guest now. Today is about North Yorkshire Council. So if you want us to talk about your local authority, please let us know. Let us know. Reach out to us. Those of you that you are saying a lie, need the happen. Better come closer. Invite your loved one. Invite your loved one. Invite your loved one. Tell them we are back again. Invite your loved one. Invite your loved one. Let them know we are back again. Those of you on YouTube, don't forget, drop your question. If you want to contribute, send a message. You can join us on Zoom or you can join us on TikTok to contribute. UK Children's Social Care, what we are seeing.
One person first. Bench do come.
What did you say, sir?
No, try to control my children.
Okay. All right, welcome again. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are back again. We are back again. So, take a mic, sir. Let us know how it's all started, and through that, let us know how you got Saved Man involved and how everything went about. Take a mic, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to share my experience, and I do hope that my story might strike with someone or might be one or two lessons to learn, and it also might help one to better handle the situations when such a situation arises. We don't pray for negative things to happen, but we are in this country, they're bound to happen and they will happen anyways. So my story was that my son went to school and reported that I corrected him or I chastised him, and it's because he kept bringing things from home which I didn't, as a Christian, I didn't find it comfortable, and so many times I've taken them to back to school and like that. So on this occasion, I got crossed with him, and he went and reported me in school. And so the school invited me that they want to have a discussion with me. And as soon as I've arrived at school, the police were already waiting for me, and they just picked me from there, and I was thrown into detention. And I was supposed to have been on work that day, that evening. So I initially thought this might just be for questioning and maybe having a conversation with them and trying to ask to find out what happened. But uh, none of that happened. As soon as I was taken into the police station, I was just asked question, taking my details were taken, and I was just locked up. And this thing happened before 3 p.m. that day, and I wasn't. I was informed if I have a lawyer, I should get in touch. Which, because I've not had any, I've stayed in this country for 5 years, 6 years plus. I've not had any disagreement with anybody of any kind. So I didn't even think of a lawyer. So they say, okay, if you don't have a lawyer, we're going to arrange for a lawyer for you. So before I'll get a lawyer, or before a lawyer, we arrived, and because I was in the incarceration, I didn't understand what the weather and time was. So I discovered that was around 12 midnight, heading to 1 a.m. of the next day. So they brought me out and asked me questions, and I explained myself. And yeah, so I was taken released on bail, but I was on the conditions where that I will not return to my house, and I will not speak to the children, and whether on phone or physically or through a third party. So it was so hard for me like that. I didn't have any clothes on me, nor any extra thing to take or to prepare, and this. So and that was my story. For almost 2 months, I couldn't get to my house. I couldn't go to my house. I couldn't speak to my children, and yeah, it was the most traumatic experience of my life because I've never had a situation whereby I would not speak to my children or see my children for 1 or 2 days. So it was hard, and to worsen up things, because I was to be at work that night, and I requested the police to let my employers know I have a situation like this, and they collected the number, but they failed to inform my employers. And because of the nature of the job I do, which is very sensitive, I told them it's going to put people on the risk if I'm not being there, because if I'm not being at work, my employers need to know to make arrangements to quickly get someone to cover. And they failed to do that. And my employers, they kept calling throughout the night till the next day. So by the next day, when I was released and I informed my employers, um, within less than an hour, a decision was taken to suspend me from work. So in all these things, I didn't also have a job to do. And my wife was also out of work because Um, he couldn't manage the children alone. He had no one to take the children to go to work, and she's also pregnant, and all of this. So it was for me, it was a double jeopardy. No work, my wife couldn't work, then couldn't see the children. It was more than a double jeopardy. Could a triple jeopardy for me. So being that, and then I got in touch with. And the worst of it all, I have to also mention, as this was going on, there was no attempt to do any investigation. The police wasn't saying anything to me. The social works wasn't saying anything to me. And I kept calling, and everything was just quiet. Almost a week and getting to 2 weeks. So I got in touch with my brother, Lainka Dede at Save the Women, and he was able to come in quickly. And after my authorization, he got in contact with the social work in the council, and he took action. And I think after they received his letter, within a day or two, a meeting was arranged for us, and eventually, with his help, it just took like 2 or 3 weeks more, and then the matter was I was released. The base condition placed on me was lift, lifted, and because my employers also had to contact the police to know what is happening and like that. So, but give and take, all of this took 2 months away from my family, 2 months no working, 2 months my wife not being able to work because she has to take the children to school and he was pregnant, and all of this. So our income, our mental health, everything was affected. And after everything, the investigation uh, came to a conclusion, no further action, and nothing. That they couldn't find something substantial to push on with the case. But what happens with me? No one has for my bills and compensation, nothing, nothing, no help for my wife. We kept calling my wife, can we get help so that my wife can go to work? Uh, because he has no one to leave the children to, no help, nothing, no support, nothing. In the meeting, we kept mentioning all of this, nothing. But I thank God, um, all of this is over, and I think it's an experience I will never forget in the rest of my life, and I will not even wish for even the worst of my enemies. So yeah, so when I was invited by my brother to speak and share my experience, I couldn't hesitate to also bring my experience to others to be able to learn from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. When they initially got involved, what was your expectation? Did they supposed to reach out to you? When did they didn't reach out to you? How did you feel those period of time? And after we reach out to them, they reach out to you, but they didn't come straight forward that we've got in touch. Is that right?
No, the the worrying, the disturbing trend in what happened was that the there was lack of or inadequate communication in the whole process. It was we didn't know what was happening, whether we're moving forward or backward, what is the real offense, where we are at any particular stage. None of those things were like made clear to anyone. So it was just clouded in ambiguity, no clear cut direction to what is happening. So it was the most traumatizing aspect of it, because if something happened or if an investigation happened, even at you remember at the meeting when you were there, I say, come on, you're doing something, you're investigating someone. Can't you bring out what you have found or the facts you have against the person or what really has been holding? Because we seem to be investigating and you seem to be claiming I've committed an offense, but you don't have one evidence. And they took the children to hospital, checked, checked me records, went everywhere. They couldn't find anything. And yet the investigation wasn't concluding, and yet they weren't telling me anything out of it. So if this will happen elsewhere, maybe in Africa, I will feel like yeah, the system there, we our system could appear to be a little bit questionable or not too perfect. But happening here in UK, it was so bizarre. It was unbelievable that I can just be kept incommunicado and no support, no assistance, even though we kept saying, see, I'm not working. My wife has been affected. She's not working. She's pregnant. She's struggling. She's doing all of this, but nothing. No support, no help, no nothing, nothing, practically nothing.
When they asked you to leave the house, did they tell you where to go? Did they give you a place to stay, or how does that happen?
When they asked me to leave the house, they asked me people I know, because I had just relocated to where I currently stay not too long ago. So I didn't have a community of people like where I had already stayed before and know one or two persons. So I was more or less like a lonely place for me. So the only close proximity I had to that I could find someone around me, the closest was about 35 miles away. Yeah. Well, so they said if you could find a friend or somebody who knows you that you can go and stay with. And this thing was now the time they were letting me go was in the early hours of the like 3 a.m. thereabout. Because by the time the lawyer came, we spoke, and we were able to sort out things. This was getting to around 3 a.m. of the next day, and they said no. So they started ringing the other person, he didn't pick his call. They said, "Do you have another person?" They called. They say the person didn't pick. They say, "Okay, do you have any other?" So I was just telling them the other people I have are very far away, and if I have to take a taxi or go to them this time around, I'm gonna pay huge. I think where I ended up going was something close to 35 to 40 miles away, and I had to pay close to £40 of taxi going to that place at that time. So it was hard. They didn't provide anything. They didn't make even the taxi. They didn't pay nothing. They just say we can't allow you to go, and we have to know the address you are going to. And they booked the taxi. Ensure that they called the taxi and instructed the taxi to take to that address. And when I get to that address, they will also need to stay speak with me. And so that was very stringent and very hard and very harsh treatment, actually.
When they release you on bail, your employer puts you on suspension for investigation. How any updates around that now? Is that completed now? Are you back fully to your
Yeah,
work?
I've been returned back to work, but in all of this, my life was completely distorted because if you say I did something and at the end of the day you don't find any evidence or you've not find substance to prosecute me. I think for all that I've gone through, legitimately I should be compensated because I wasn't working, I wasn't, and I have bills to pay. I kept hammering this in our meetings, and they didn't do the thing. So my employers, because the why they were also interested were not just listen, they were. I think if it had gone to a level, I could be sacked and my maybe my papers for employment will be withdrawn and then maybe they'll just have to leave the organization. So they were just curiously following. It's not just for me to return to work, but they just keep digging to know if I have committed a crime or if there is a crime against me so that they can relieve me from my, maybe sack me from the work. That's also why they keep bombarding the police to give them anything has come up every day. They are contacting the police. So once the police uh, came to a point that they don't have strong evidence or strong substance against me, um, they actually asked me the permission that my employers have been asking them to provide information, but going by their rules, they can't release such information to them without my authorization. So I authorized them to brief them. So they briefed my employers that yeah, the investigation has concluded, but they've not found any incriminating thing against me to prosecute me. So yeah, so my employers now called me that yeah, the police have informed them that they have not found anything incriminating against me, so I can return to work.
All right. Thank you so much for coming around for sharing your experience. Before you go, I have you heard about something like this happening to families? Is this something you think will happen, or you never thought it can happen to your family?
Oh, I do hear stories, but really, to be very honest with you, I do not take it too close because, to be very honest with you, very frank with you, I had never imagined I will one day experience this kind of situation. I just view it, yeah, it happens, but it's just like maybe, for instance, someone being robbed. You hear people are being robbed, then you just feel like you can't imagine going through an experience of maybe being robbed until maybe the day you are robbed. Then you now know, oh, is this the experience? Because you don't know and you don't expect that you'll be robbed. Not really like you are so special, but you don't just bring it home that you can also be robbed. So in this, I hear stories, but I just used to imagine what we really. what do you call it? What will really happen that I will have to go through. So, and for real, it now happened to me. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Those of you on TikTok, if you've got any question you want to say or you want to contribute, when your child is displaying some behavior or action that you believe this is ungodly, what do you do? And if it happens, how do you manage situation? And go ahead, you say something.
Is it mean?
No, no, not you. I'm just true to if you want to come up, come and share your experience. Yeah, it was not deep. It might your own might not be deep, yeah, but sometimes the way they will escalate it, you just be wondering how it got to this level. But if it doesn't go to that level, please always appreciate God. In most cases, the arrested parents, they put them on bail condition and it affect their employment. And most of these parents are under COS. And what is the fate of those children if eventually happen that they lost their job and they lost the right to work or live to remain in the country? No problem, no problem. So if you anybody wants to say something before we round up, let me just check the YouTube if there's any comments there before we round up. Thank you once again for coming up. If you want us to talk about your local authority, let us know where you are joining from, where you want us to talk about next. Put a comment there. Put a comment. Let's know. Okay, if you want to come up, you can send a request. Cross tension. Come up. Come up. Come up. Come up. Come up. You can
Sorry.
come up.
Am I permitted to leave now?
Yes, but if you want to contribute again, you might need to join us on TikTok. So those of you on YouTube, if you want to contribute, you might need to join us on TikTok now. Thank you so much once again. Thank you for joining. Uh, before you go, do you want to have 1 or 2 minute advice for people? Just a 1 minute to round up.
Yeah, I think moving forward, I would say this country where we find ourselves is a different ball game altogether. The rules are quite different, and just like I was saying, some certain things like maybe back home, sometimes you could be detained and nobody will give you a reason, and you do this thing, but you know that there that's what happened. So here, when you've been detained and then released and then make not to work for this long and then no compensation and nothing. So we just need to be more careful and find a way around to maybe correct these children, use a different approach to deny them maybe of things they love and other things so that we will not find ourselves in this thing. And sometimes I say if you have the options, if the in extreme cases, if you can't cope, I think I will say you can also think about the option of taking them back home. So that because if you stay in this country and we achieve everything, and at the end of the day, your children end up being a waste or not doing this, and then what have you achieved? So that's my very honest point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank God that the DBS did not reach out to you. And if they reach out, let us know because these little cases, once it happened, it's on the police system and DBS will pick it up and they will write to the parent that intention to bar, especially people that will get to police station and will go and accept caution without knowing the implication or the consequence of that. Before once you are invited to police station, if you are arrested or detained, you owe them only your name and your date of birth. Anything other than that, let them know you need to seek a legal advice. If they are giving you any documents, you need to let them know. They need to give it to duty solicitor so that they will be able to be the one to explain to you. Don't let police explain things to you and you say, do you understand? And you say yes. No. Let them give it to the solicitor. Even if you need the interpreter, tell them to get you an interpreter. It is within your rights. If you need an interpreter, it is within your rights. Don't consent, don't sign anything you don't understand. And don't admit anything that is not admittable. Even before you accept, before you see anything, seek a legal advice. Please, it is within your rights. Whatever you did, then your solicitor will be able to cover up for you and be able to write on your behalf and will be able to defend you. And if by way or the other omission, they did not advise you appropriately, that is misrepresentation. You can sue that solicitor or firm. But if you did not get advice from them, it is your cup of tea. So please, let's make sure we know our rights before police invite you or before social care gets involved or the school make a referral. Cross, take a mic. So, if Cross, are you there? Jamie, 4. Catherine, anybody want to contribute? Be part. Are you there?